Hello and welcome to the Society with Fatma Shaheen at PTB World. Today on our show, we'll not only be talking about, the holy month of Ramadan, but we'll also be talking about fasting and, of course, the way we do see it evolving in Pakistan over a period of time. We'll be talking about the significance of this very holy month, the blessings that do come with it, and generally, when we do talk about the changing trends that we do observe to have changed and evolved over time, what are the most noticeable things that we do observe in this regard? In this regard, we'll not only be talking about how fasting at a very basic level should then just not be construed to be that physical abstinence from food and drink, but also at a very basic level should be construed to be that one form of self-purification where we all Muslims in this 1 month strive towards, betterment of our souls. In this regard, we'll also be talking about the need for us to consider this from a nutritional angle too, that when we do talk about fasting, why is it so important then to eat healthy, that too at a very basic level, be it at sahur, be it at iftar, and what are the do's and what are the don'ts of doing just that. Moving on, we'll also be talking about the impact of social media on, observing our fast, and generally how we now see younger people indulging and at a very basic level perhaps trying to make, iftars and sahurs more aesthetic that way. Has this in one way or the other impacted the entire spirit of observing our fast or Ramadan, so to speak? That is also another angle on which we'll be deliberating upon. Overall, we'll be talking about the need for us to work towards a more gender inclusive, a more flexible, and generally a more empathetic Ramzan culture. All of this today, that too with an extremely eminent panel. Let me introduce you to my today's panel. My first panelist for today's show is Ustaaz Waqar Nawaz Saab, who is an Islamic scholar. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. My second panelist for today's show is Yasir Saeed Saab, who is a certified nutritionist. Assalamu alaikum ji, and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Thank you for joining us. My third panelist for today's show is Miss Yemeen Hassan. She's a youth activist and she's also a social worker. Assalamu alaikum ji, and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Now, before we start the discussion on today's topic, let's have a look at this brief report.
Ramadan is more than just fasting. It's a journey of spiritual and ethical growth. It teaches us patience, self-restraint, and deepens our connection with faith. Beyond abstaining from food and drink, this holy month calls us to embrace kindness, justice, and community service. Through zakat and sadaqah, we uplift those in need, ensuring economic justice and social harmony. Ramadan reminds us of our moral responsibilities, urging us to patience, empathy, and ethical conduct to all aspects of our life. Even in today's fast-paced digital world, we can preserve the true essence of Ramadan by balancing spirituality with modern challenges. Let this sacred month be a time of reflection, generosity, and positive change within ourselves and in society.
Welcome back from the report. Sir, I would like to start the show with you. So when we do talk about fasting, we do understand and appreciate the fact that fasting at a very basic level is just not that one act which actually helps us abstain from both food and drink, that too during the sustenance of the fast itself. But it's also that entire act, the holy month itself is that 1 month which then obligates us to be more kind and compassionate, that too towards the poor and the deserving people. But overall, if we are to talk about this with regards to taqwa, how particularly do you feel does fasting help us nurture taqwa? How would you comment on this particular issue?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Barrister Fatima, for giving me the chance. This blessed month of fasting is not just a month. You talked about taqwa. Taqwa is something very significant to a believer. And if you look at it, it is something which is a factor which distinguishes the believer from others.
Right.
Now the question is, what is taqwa? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we look at the Surah Baqarah, Allah says, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِي هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Meaning, that book will be a source of guidance for those who are muttaqeen. Again, that word, the meaning, there is a relationship between the taqwa and the Quran, right? And then the Quran says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ in verse number 183 of Surah Al-Baqarah, in which is being told that it is farz upon you, it is a must. So, the question here still stays, so what is the taqwa?
And how does fasting help us nurture taqwa?
Taqwa, actually in simple words, Shaykh Asad rahimullah beautifully said, is the God consciousness. To be consciously aware of Allah. And in simple words, taqwa is sticking to the boundaries which are defined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Sir, and this is something that we as Muslims then strive to do all the more, that too in this holy month. So when we do talk about the deeper meaning of taqwa, how would you comment on that particularly?
You see, that's what is very important to understand, that what are the boundaries Allah has set for me. In every role that we play, whether you're a son, whether you're a daughter, whether you're a wife or a father or whatever role you're playing, you need to understand your role and your duties that you're performing, and that duties actually are those boundaries. Now, are you able to commit to them? One. Then fasting is an opportunity for us. It's Sheikh Jahangir Mahmood sometimes says that it is a refresher course for us. Right. So every year, like for example, if you want to be good at something, you got to be doing it again and again. So it's a chance for us to review, to reflect, how are we doing our duties to the people and to Allah.
On which I'll come towards you, Yasir Sahab, and I want you to add to this further, but of course from your own line of work. So when we do talk about the need for us to eat in a healthy manner, that too in the holy month of Ramadan, we do see that unfortunately still a lot of people, they binge eat, whether it is at Sahoor time or for that matter even at Iftar time. So as a certified nutritionist yourself, what do you feel are the do's and don'ts of healthy eating, that too in Ramadan?
I think the whole idea of fasting, we understand this from the international point of view. We got this idea, say 100 years back, but for Muslims, we got the whole idea of fasting 1400 years ago. It's all the craze and all the buzz, intermittent fasting. We got this a long time back as Muslims. And I think if you do this right, the way Islam prescribes this, it's the way of life. It's not just about a month. You can do this for the rest of your life. And I think it's the most healthy way of living.
But sir, then coming again to my question, when we do talk about it being the most healthy way of living, and that is something definitely which we ideally as Muslims should strive to do throughout the year, not only in just 1 month. What do you feel are the healthy choices in terms of their nutrition that they should actively seek out for, whether it is eating healthy at Sahoor time or whether it is eating healthy at Iftar time? What are the foods that they should consume ideally, and what are the foods that they should then steer clear of?
I think the most important thing that I always argue about is this month, the month itself of Ramadan. It's not celebration, it's a test. Eid is celebration, Ramadan itself is a test, it's not celebration. It's not eating more, rather it's eating less. Whatever you eat the whole year, this particular month you eat less. It's completely unhealthy eating junk food at 3 in the morning and then pray and go to sleep.
So on the converse, sir, then what do you propose should we then eat? Lean proteins, fruits and vegetables, complex carbohydrates. What do you feel are the nutrients that we should ideally focus upon, whether it is at Sahoor time or Iftar time?
Think about it, unfortunately, I think we've made it into a part of our culture that, you're going to have a paratha, you're going to have some salan, you're going to have dal, you're going to have a lot of water, you're going to have some multivitamins. You haven't left anything for God. What's the idea? The idea is that that's when we, do the dua for Sari, you say, I believe in you, get me through this. So I think the whole idea of Sari has to start from eating less, not eating more. Whatever you eat, whatever you want to eat, but eat less.
And eat healthy.
And then when you say healthy, that means, hydrate yourself. That's important. Drink a few glasses of water, as much as you can. And always start with protein. Have a few, maybe an egg, 2 eggs, some chicken, beef, mutton, fish, so small quantities. It'll keep you lighter throughout the day. It'll keep your energies optimal. Because once you have parathas at Sari, The moment you wake up in the morning and you go to the office, there is a massive dip in your energy.
Definitely.
Every time you're
Right.
sleepy.
And then you inevitably end up gaining weight too. Yemeen, I would want you to add to this further, but more so from your own youth perspective, since you are the youngest on the panel here today. So when we do talk about young people, it's very important then to understand this from young people's perspective too. Now we do see that young people, of course, like adults, they also fast. But when it comes to staying true or understanding the very essence of Ramadan, do you feel that young people today in society understand and exhibit all the values that they should be doing as good Muslims? Because yes, we do know that Ramadan is that 1 month where we are told to stay away from food and drink, but do young people also understand today that yes, it is that 1 month where they should be indulging in acts of gratitude, in acts of kindness, and also by that virtue giving back to the society too? So from your youth perspective, how do you look at this?
According to my perspective, I feel like there's a bit of misconception when it comes to the understanding of the very essence of Islam. What we tend to do is that we kind of narrow it down to only abstaining from food or staying thirsty the entire day and like believing that this is all that we were supposed to do. I think Ramadan is much more than food or drink, etc. So I think that on a broader horizon, they should focus on the spirit of social service, the spirit of social entrepreneurship that Ramadan brings with us. And there is a wider need of the acknowledgement that this is the month where, like Sir has already said, that whatever you start from somewhere, so you need to start doing
Somewhere.
good.
Those little acts of kindness, be it giving perhaps shelter to the homeless, or giving
Exactly.
people food, or working towards so many other socially motivated volunteer work. But when we talk about exhibiting that responsibility, this again is a circular argument. You mean here, do you not feel that parents, educators, even the community at large, that also has a very important role to play when it comes to pushing young people in the right direction? A lot of times they say that it's parents who are leading by way of example.
Exactly.
If you are fasting in front of your child, then that child would automatically follow lead too.
Exactly. Now, Fatma, I come from a home where Ramadan is celebrated, and there is this, there's a lot of charity going on and social service, etc. So that's what I have learned from home. So I think yes, families do play a part in it. Other than that, the groups that you associate yourself with or the peers that you're surrounded
Your
with
friends.
also play a lot of role in you acknowledging the very spirit of Ramadan and acting on it. So yes, it does play a role apart from parents. I think our mentors, our elders, our teachers,
Educators,
etc.,
right.
the educators also should step forward in order to enlighten the youth about the very meaning of Islam, about all the taqwa that they should practice during this time.
Right.
And I think that will be very essential in promoting the social service
Definitely.
that is
But at
required.
some level, at a very basic level, I think that thing, of course, of introspection, of self-discipline, of self-restraint, that also needs to come from one's own self. Coming towards you, Waqar, I would want you to add to this. So when we do talk about Ramadan, we do understand that yes, we all Muslims are under an obligation to fast. But then there is that category of people as well who might be given some leverage, either because of their health conditions or because of their age, or perhaps because of the fact that they might be traveling. So looking at this from purely an informational and educational perspective, how would you then explain that, who are the people who then get exemptions from fasting? And in the event that they still do want to fast for some reason or the other, how can they actually make up for those missed fasts?
Thank you, Ms. Fatma. The first thing we need to understand is what is illness, right? So we don't define what is illness. The people responsible for is our doctors.
Right.
So you go to the doctor, he tells you, okay, this is an illness which is, you will be recovering soon, and you will not be recovering, or it's going to get worse, right? So first of all, the doctor decides what is the illness.
Right.
Second step, now, if the illness is such, or for example, the people who are diabetic, or the people who have to take medication consistently, let's say after 6 hours or something like that. So for these people, it is now, because if they don't take the medication, it will have a negative effect on their body,
Right.
and may further deteriorate their health and so forth.
Right.
So for these type of people, there is a provision, right? So that's one. Now, for those who are in that condition and they will be recovering soon, So once the Ramadan is over, then they do their missed fast, the fast which they have missed.
Right.
So then they're going to do one, qada fasting that we call it. The second is those people who are in such a state that they will not be recovering from that. So the chances are very, very less.
Right.
For a 90-year-old, recovering from a stroke is very less.
Right. Or even for women who might be expecting or breastfeeding their children as well.
Absolutely. Beautiful point mentioned. So for these people, what they do is those who cannot, for the elderly, for example, particularly for and those with illness, what these people are going to do, they're going to pay fidya for that.
Right.
Right. And for those who are unable to do that, so once they're done with it, with feeding and all that, so later on, they make up their fasts and all
Right.
that.
So there's a proper way to go about it. So.
Oh yes.
Right.
Yes. This is very important. Like we keep an accounting for our assets and our revenues. Similarly, we should keep an account and keep a record that how many fasts we have missed.
Right.
Right. This is for everybody. Right. The reason being because this is something outstanding upon you. This is fard you miss. Right. Mandatory.
Right.
And so therefore, once it's the fasts are over, once you're in a good position, then you can.
You are basically able to make up for those missed fasts. Right. So your point is noted. On which I'll come towards you, Yasir Saab, and I would want you to add to this further. So when we do talk about the importance of fasting, a lot of times we see that people who might be unwell with any kind of an underlying health condition, be it blood pressure, be it cardiovascular disease, they might still opt to fast. So in cases like these, what are the nutritional choices you as a nutritionist propose should they be very careful about, and what then should be that ideal mechanism for them to fast? Like what are the do's and what are the don'ts of them fasting in cases like these?
I think unfortunately we haven't, general public, we haven't understood the significance of scientific significance of fasting, because we just talked about diabetes. If you fast, you will lower your blood sugar levels.
Right.
If you fast, it is good for your cardiovascular health. If you fast, it is amazing for your blood pressure.
Right.
So fasting is not stopping you. Fasting is actually helping you. So if you're sick and you have, say, if you have a bad stomach, fast. If you have high sugar levels, fast.
Right. But sir, then how do you balance that need to take medications while fasting, which would be more essential for people with underlying health conditions?
Look, again, unfortunately, the medical industry, keeps pushing the use of allopathy. Rather, if you stop using the medicine and just simply fast, the body itself will heal.
Right. It will detoxify.
Look, it's an amazing piece of science that God has provided us.
Right.
The body has everything. It controls your temperature. It controls your blood sugar levels. It controls the heartbeat. It controls how you breathe. The body has everything in itself to heal itself.
But in this regard, I think one thing that we must talk about during the course of today's conversation is the fact that a lot of times we see that many people, more particularly young people, get into that habit of missing their sahur, probably because they might either be too lazy to get up and have a proper sahur, or they feel that it's just not necessary. So how would you as a certified nutritionist then comment on the dangers of missing out on sahur? Because it does at a very basic level then give you that boost to start your fast, that too in a very energized manner.
If you ask for my particular opinion, I think eating at Sehri, having a lot of food at Sehri, I would never recommend this. And I think that's not a part of the biology. The body doesn't require this. Yes, you can have a few glasses of water. You can have a khajur, but that's my opinion. If I were to do this, and I've been doing this for a very long time. I think it's been 7-8 years. I've been fasting with a few glasses of water, and it keeps me very healthy, very energetic, very uplifted throughout the day.
Right, but in the event, sir, that people can't do it, you perhaps might be used to doing it, but they still want to feel full, they want to have that energy, they don't want to feel dehydrated. What are the foods you suggest that they should ideally turn towards, that too keeping in mind the health aspect?
I think if you have to eat at Sari, I think lean meat, proteins, eggs. I think the beauty of an egg is God has created this cell and it has everything that the body needs in the right quantities, all the nutrients
Right.
in one egg. So you can have an egg, a few eggs maybe. But I think the most important thing that needs to be avoided at Sari are carbohydrates.
Right.
Parathe, roti, bread. If you can, cut them down.
Right.
Reduce the amount. Because otherwise, it'll just, it'll spike your blood sugar levels.
Right. It'll
And
make you
by
feel
the time-
bloated.
Yeah, by the time you get up in the morning and you go to the office, you'll have a massive
Dip in energy.
in sugar.
Right.
And that's when you feel groggy, you'll feel
Sluggish.
sluggish, and you'll feel lazy.
Right.
So I think the most important thing that you can avoid, should avoid, is sugar and carbs.
Right, and I have lots of water, I have lots of juices, and also
Hydration is very important.
hydration is extremely important.
Yes.
And on which I'll come towards you, Yemeen. I want you to add to this further. So when we do talk about the holy month of Ramadan, that too with regards to the growing usage of social media, we do know that yes, with the growing usage of social media, it has impacted the way we do practically observe our fast. Perhaps the attention now being shifted towards having more of an aesthetic Ramzan, as opposed to perhaps staying true to the spiritual, essence of the holy month. So as a young person in Pakistan, how do you propose can we get past this? And why do you feel is it so important to get that ideal balance between digital engagement at one end and also at the same time staying true to the principles of Ramadan and of course fasting the way we have been taught by our religion?
Fatma, as I always say, that social media is both a blessing and a curse.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yes, exactly. And since we live in a highly digitalized age, I don't think that it is possible for us to limit our social media usage. Rather, I think that we can shift it to a more positive and productive usage instead of kind of fueling negative practices such as extravagance, etc. And coming back to my first question, as I answered that there is a need for the acknowledgement of the true spirit of Islam.
Right.
We somehow being too much indulged into that extravagance, the suhoor and iftar parties and all of that fancy
All those
dressing up, etc.,
extravagant
have
buffets
somehow
and vlogs,
missed
right.
that very point
True.
of Ramadan. So I think that there should be a need and a requirement to kind of strike a balance in the social media usage. I am not against it, but it should be used in the right manner in a way to spread awareness
Right.
about what the values Ramadan teaches us, what are the core principles of Islam that should be abided by, what are the practices that we should integrate into our daily lives during Ramadan,
Right.
and so as to ensure a sustainable lifestyle in the future as well after Ramadan.
Right.
So I think that social media does have a lot of potential, but then only if used in the right manner.
If used constructively. Yasir Sahab, I would want you to add to this. Now, when we do talk about the usage of social media, I do know that you're running this very renowned food business too. How do you see the trends changing, that too, particularly in the month of Ramadan? Are people more mindful with regards to their posting? Do people come up with greater queries to you as somebody who is running this business? How would you see that difference, which you perhaps don't observe as compared to the rest of the year?
It's your choice what you follow, the kind of books that you read, the kind of magazine articles that you read, the kind of TV that you watch. It's same with social media. I mean, you can follow a celebrity, or you can actually follow an Islamic channel,
Right.
or a post that you like. So I think the whole idea of glorifying, or we shouldn't say glorifying, but this celebration of Ramadan, it is all about abstinence. It is all about simplicity.
Right.
It's all about cutting stuff out. In food terms, it's all about detox.
Right.
So it's detox from food, It's detox
From what? From social media too.
From social media, from your worldly activities. It's abstinence.
Right.
So social media comes
Definitely.
in that. So I think generally, it's a blessing that you have social media. You could have a book. Now you have a phone. What you open in that phone, that depends on you.
There needs to be perhaps more mindful posting here and more sensitive posting too. Sir, how does Islam look at this particular issue? We do need to digitally engage to a certain extent, and we do that for educational purposes as well, something which both the panelists very rightly so pointed towards. But then how do you also ensure at the same time that this engagement is something which is constructive? It is helping us perhaps better strive towards being, good Muslims, or for that matter, better living by the true ideals of Ramadan. So how can that balance be struck in light of Islamic principles?
Three things with reference to this. Number one, Islam focuses on tazkiyah nafs, that is controlling yourself. So this is an opportunity to, if you have any weaknesses, you can overcome those weaknesses during this month. One. Now, the social media is a medium of influence.
Right.
So one, habits. This is an excellent opportunity to make new habits and get rid of bad habits.
Right.
Thirdly, you should have a milestone of your days,
True.
right? So inculcate your, like say for example, your normal day, and now you got goals which you have to accomplish to make Allah happy, to make your bond with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more stronger. So fasting is going to help you a lot.
Right. And it's also about having the right balance, sir, not only between your digital engagement and fasting, or you're of course praying and doing ibadat as well, but it's also about taking your other real life commitments along too, be it your work, be it your professional growth, and so many other things. But when we do talk about the particular aspect of dua, that too in this very holy month, how would you comment on its significance? Because we do understand the fact that, time and again in our religion, the duas, the supplications of somebody who is fasting, they are given a lot of weightage. It is said if somebody is fasting and then they make a dua in that state, or particularly at the event of opening, the fast, more particularly at the event of iftar, then the supplications would not go waste, they won't be rejected. So how would you comment on this in light of Islamic teachings?
Number one, as far as the balance is concerned, Islam and fasting as a month of Ramadan, it doesn't say that, okay, don't do work, right, and stay hungry, or you say, because I'm fasting, so I'm not going to do that. Yes, as employers, we should be a little more kind to them, give them some relief. But if you're a professional, whatever work you're doing, you got to be doing your work.
Right.
Right? One. In terms of dua, beautiful point being mentioned by you. Dua is something which connects us with Allah. Right? And this month of Ramadan has got many, many opportunities. In this, not only sahar, not only in suhoor, not only in iftar and all that. After every prayer.
Right.
Right? After every action that you do. And what is dua? It's communicating with Allah. I'm not saying to Allah. Communicating with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's on those, whenever you get a chance. We don't have any barriers with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Right.
Right? Whenever you want, you can ask Allah for that. And you can make this a habit,
Right.
asking Allah.
Right.
And dua is the best form of
But doesn't dua get extra importance or special importance, in other words, that too in this holy month?
Ms. Fatma, I have a little disagree on that. What I've learned and I've seen from my elders is the connection with Allah is more important.
Right.
Rather than the sugar coating that you are putting and presenting to Allah. Allah knows whatever is in you and what's happening around us.
Right.
Right? So be open to Allah.
Right.
Right? And open yourself and say what's in your heart.
Right, sir, your point is noted. On which I'll come towards you, Yasir Saab, and I would want you to add to this. Now, a lot of times we see dates, they are a staple of iftar, that too as per Sunnah, and there's no denying to the fact that they are extremely healthy to consume either at sahur or at iftar. But we also come across people who might be concerned about their blood sugar levels spiking up, that too following consumption of dates. So, as a nutritionist yourself, how would you advise with regards to having a very balanced yet a very healthy consumption of dates, one which actually gives you the energy to go through the fast, but then on the contrary, doesn't adversely lead to your blood sugar levels rising?
I think particularly dates, the amazing thing about dates is that dates are high in allulose. Allulose is a sweet compound, but the beauty of allulose is that it does not increase your blood sugar levels that significantly. It's sweet,
Right.
but it won't spike your sugar levels.
Until and unless you're having too much of them.
Yeah, and that goes for everything.
Right,
I mean,
yeah, you need to be mindful.
One date, 2 dates, it's an amazing dessert. Dates itself are amazing desserts. So I think, as I said, eating less should be the cornerstone
Right.
in Ramzan, but it's not the dates that's spiking the sugar levels. I think it's the pakode, it's the samosa,
It's all the desserts,
carbs
sugary
that,
drinks.
if you're diabetic, doctors will say skip sugar. But the doctors, what they don't say is skip carbs. Because carbs, when you consume carbs, simple carbs or complex carbs, as soon as you consume carbs, they will break down in your body and they will convert into sugar.
Right. So it's so many
all
things
the
we need to
bread,
look at, right?
all the roti, all the chawal, all the naan, all the samosa, all the pakode, actually that's what's driving your blood sugar up.
Right.
It's
So
not
we
the
definitely
dates.
need to look this at a more holistic way. Then I'm glad you made that clarification. I'll come towards you, Ms. Yemeen, and I would want you to add to this further. So, an issue which is often raised is the fact that a lot of times we see women complain that during Ramadan they might not get that ideal time to pray and indulge in acts of worship. And this is primarily because there's too much household responsibility put on them, especially with regards to preparing sahur and iftar meals. So, as a woman yourself, how do you then propose can we go about equally dividing household responsibilities in the holy month of Ramadan, that too in a way that women particularly, they aren't disproportionately burdened?
So Fatma, I would like to mention 2 points over here. Firstly, we condense Islam to only cooking and eating or not eating, and we miss the very essence of Islam. So as in our Pakistani households, the responsibility for cooking is centered around women. So they are the ones who miss out on praying or enjoying
Right.
Ramadan as such, as they're too much invested into cooking foods and hosting all these sahurs and iftars, etc. Secondarily, as far as the role of men is concerned, I believe that charity begins at home.
True.
During Ramadan, they are involved in doing all of this charity work outside of their homes,
But it should
and what
start
they
at home.
forget is to
Right.
pay attention what's actually happening in
There
the
needs to be an
houses.
equal division of household
So,
responsibilities.
I would suggest that firstly there should be this realization that women should not be in the kitchen all the time in Ramadan, and it should not be a month of celebrating fancy feasts. And other than that, men should also contribute into all of this cooking stuff, etc., so that women would be kind of relaxed, so that they could get time to pray and
Right, of course.
enjoy Ramadan as well.
Enjoy Ramadan and of course do what they have to do in that regard as well.
Exactly.
But also not only that, I think this is something which should then ideally continue for the rest of the year as well. Just not Ramadan, it's
Exactly.
also about Eid and so many other occasions too. Coming towards you, sir, and moving towards the end of the show. So to wrap up today's conversation, my last question to you would be, we have spoken at length about the true essence of the holy month of Ramadan. But when it comes to also construing this entire topic, that too with regards to the environmental impact of Ramadan, for example, we do understand the fact that there is perhaps greater cooking in Ramadan, there is greater energy consumption by that virtue too, and also not to forget growing food wastage as well. So how do you then propose can we get past this issue such that we make Ramadan that one month where we aspire to have more sustainable, permanent and, of course, a long-time eco-friendly lifestyle choices?
Ms. Fatma, firstly, what every individual has his own circle in the community. So Ramadan, we look at your own self, right? So as an individual, what do I need more in my life with reference to professionally as well as from religious perspective as well. Then the same individual contributes to the community.
Right.
So whatever influence level you have, right, you decide that, okay, my community that is around me, what impact am I making into the community, or what negative or positive, right? If I'm making negative, I need to take it out.
Right.
If I'm making less positive, or I need to increase more positive contribution to the community. So this way, Ramadan gives us an excellent opportunity, like Taraweeh prayer, right? Going to the masjid.
It gives you
meeting
the
the
opportunity to
community.
self-introspect.
Yes.
Right.
And going, meeting different people out there. So this is an excellent opportunity for young people as well to see, and for the elderly as well, teaching the younger people what, as a Muslim, you know, it's not only individually, but also on the community level. And this will impact not only the environment around you, but also internationally. We've seen that people have looked at us from a different perspective. Okay, these people are not only self-centered people,
Right.
they also contribute to the surroundings around them as well.
They are doing societal good too. Coming towards you, Yasir Saab, and moving towards the end of the show. So my last question to you would be, living on from where he left, what is very important to then understand is we all carry these good virtues that we do learn from in the month of Ramadan throughout the year, both in terms of our personal life as well as in terms of our professional growth too. But looking at this particularly from a nutritionist viewpoint, what are the things you feel that we do need to carry forward, that too in a holistic manner, such that we all strive to have a more healthy and definitely a more eco-friendly lifestyle, that too post-Ramzan? What tips would you want to give to the people in this regard?
Ms. Fatma, you're absolutely right. What my understanding of Ramzan is that this lifestyle has to be sustained for the rest of the year. You know, you should pray 5 times a day. You should eat less. You should be kind to people. You should do charity. This month is probably the QC.
Right.
You know, you open up your SOPs and you just revise them. You know, what you have to do for the rest of the year. It's not just about this month that you have to pray and you have to fast and you have to eat less and you have to help the poor and you have to do all the good things, not just for this month, but the rest of the 11 months as well.
Right.
This is just to review that checklist of the whole of the month, whole of the year. So my understanding of Ramzan is it's a reminder
Right.
of what you're supposed to do for the rest of the 11 months. And it's mandatory, just like in any office, there are drills. And you go over the SOPs and you go over the protocols. This is a way of life.
Right.
This is not just for a month. This is for 12 months. And you review those SOPs and those protocols in 30 days just to remind yourself that what you're supposed to do for the rest of your life.
Right. And reiterate, and at a very basic level also pledge to take them forward in that regard too. Yemeen, I'll come towards you. I think we must also talk about the very important government initiatives that we do see emerging every now and then, especially, you know, geared towards uplifting the downtrodden segments of the Pakistani society. Now, we do know that even last year, some very important Ramzan relief packages were introduced so as to perhaps give poor people ration packages. And now this year as well, we do see cash assistance particularly is being provided to deserving and poor families. But overall, if you were to then comment on the importance of such very important initiatives, do you not feel initiatives like these at a very basic level could also perhaps pave the way towards doing away with so many other socio-economic inequities that do exist in our society today, those which we can then carry forward post-Ramadan too?
So we see a pattern that every year Punjab government especially introduces these Ramadan relief packages. Last year we had Nigeban Ramadan, in which ration packages were distributed amongst the needy people. This year again we see that there is a cash assistance program in which cash checks of around 10,000 rupees are to be distributed amongst the needy people. It's a commendable effort, firstly, because it makes our downtrodden segments of the society be included
Right.
into the spirit of Islam or into the celebration of Islam. But on the other hand, I think that after those 30 days of Ramadan, we kind of lose that spirit of social entrepreneurship and social welfare, hence ultimately neglecting these segments of society. So according to my opinion, I think such programs should be integrated within the social and governance
Structures
machinery
long term.
of the
We do have more of
state.
such programs too, but then again, you see, I think there's only so much that the government can do in this regard. It
Yes.
also goes back to the society. We now also see a lot of people very actively engaging in charitable work, that too more particularly in Ramadan, more particularly the civil society as well.
Yes.
So this has to be a collective effort at the end of the day, a responsibility which should equally be shared by all the stakeholders, not just the government.
Talk about integrating such elements into the social fabric. I think that is something that cannot be done unless our society is
Right.
willing to integrate these elements into the social fabric. So I think in this regard, the role of these civil society organizations or these welfare organizations is extremely important, because they are the ones who kind of instill that spirit of social entrepreneurship and into the people.
Right, and
That
also
brings
in the
about
larger picture, to look at this more holistically, to do away with so many socio-economic issues which do exist in the society. For one, poverty to start off with.
Yes.
Right, madam, your point is noted, on which note I would like to conclude today's show. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Yasir Saab, and thank you so much, Ms. Yemeen, for your time today. Well, to conclude today's show, we generally spoke about the holy month of Ramadan and the very act of fasting. In this regard, we also spoke about and stress on this very fact that, Ramadan per se, fasting per se, shouldn't construe to be, that physical abstinence from food and drink. It should also, in the larger picture, construe to be that one opportunity that we as Muslims get so as to self-introspect, so as to be more compassionate, so as to be more kind towards other. In this regard, what is very important to sit back and then analyze is that are we as a society doing just that? In a world where anybody can choose to be anything, we must as a society choose to be kind. That's it for tonight. Until next time, take care and Allah Hafiz.